Hi everyone, it's Ash from FPL Hints, back with some more preseason FPL content ahead of the 24-25 season. As always, if you're able to like, share and subscribe, that will be greatly appreciated. So what I'm going to do is construct a bench boost draft. An important caveat, this is a mock bench boost draft, which doesn't factor into one of my official drafts in preseason. But I wanted to explore this avenue because it's something that many FPL content creators are too afraid to explore. They want to save the bench boost for a double game week later in the season. But let's not forget that a head start is a good start in FPL. And perhaps bench boost is an option for some, but it's not for the faint hearted. So, what I'm going to do is basically construct a draft with 15 players who you'd hope have a generous fixture for the opening round. And of course, with the way that this bench boost is going to be made, the team could have some longevity in the weeks beyond as well. But in all honesty, if it goes wrong, you'd inevitably have to do a very early wildcard. So I'll explain how I'm going to go about it with each of my different picks. And yeah, let's get straight into it. So first and foremost, when it comes to the goalkeepers, I want to pick the goalkeepers that are reasonably priced and aren't going to break the bank, as it were, and also have good fixtures. So someone who I actually haven't got in any of my preseason drafts, but I think would be viable for a bench boost draft is Nick Pope of Newcastle United. And his ownership is fairly low, considering that he missed a large chunk of last season. £5 million as well, which doesn't exactly help his cause. So against Southampton at St James Park, you'd hope that there is some clean sheet potential there for him. So in he comes, and again, because it's Southampton, a triple up with Newcastle United would be almost inevitable. On to the next goalkeeper, going to Crystal Palace, because on the goalkeeping side with the bench boost, you don't want to go super heavy. So ideally, it'd be a 4.5 goalkeeper as well. I'm going to pick Henderson as the goalkeeping option there to just basically make sure that we don't spend more than £9.5 million on the goalkeepers for this bench boost draft. And with Henderson and the way that Palace have played last season, after Hodgson left, Palace were fourth best for expected goals conceded in the Premier League last season. In fact, even whilst Hodgson was there. And with that opening fixture against Brentford as well, with Brentford, let's not forget, Tony unlikely to be there. The striker that they've bought as well is a injury doubt as well. So there's a significant option for a clean sheet in that match for Crystal Palace. So in he comes as part of our goalkeeping lineup there. And in terms of the other defenders, Liverpool obviously have a generous fixture against Ipswich. So again, just need to be careful that I don't spend too much in defence. But one player that I do want to get, and ideally it would have been Trent Alexander-Arnold, but he's probably a million too much for a bench boost. And someone who's very likely to start as well for that game week one match, it is Virgil van Dijk, £6 million against Ipswich. We can only hope for a bullet header, as it were. Again, Virgil van Dijk isn't in any of my preseason drafts, but for a bench boost and with the value that he has at his price range, I think he makes sense for us. And of course, with it being a bench boost, all of the players are going to be relied upon, so there won't be any 4.0 options here. And you'd really hope that all of the players that we pick have a good possibility of either keeping a clean sheet in the back line or having the prowess for an attacking return. And just sort it by percentage because I think you'll be quite high on this list. There he is, Anderson of Crystal Palace. So we'll go for the Crystal Palace double up here. In he comes. The other player I'm going to pick is Gvardiol of Manchester City. And again, Manchester City haven't been a bastion of clean sheets over the past two seasons, but Gvardiol with 4 goals and 2 assists, which effectively happened towards the end of last season as well, shows you that he has got that prowess there and has that muscle memory, as it were. So in he comes as our third defender in this mock bench boost draft. And just on the 4.5 front, going back there again, I want to go to Everton. And if I'm not mistaken, Everton kept almost the same number of clean sheets as Manchester City last season. Don't think I even owned any Everton defenders actually at all last season. But Mykolenko at 4.5 million offers exceptional value. Again, 2 goals, 1 assist, but it's really that price point. And again, home to Brighton. And with Brighton, there's a lot of transition happening. So good opportunity for them to potentially keep a clean sheet. Again, not very likely, but there is a potential chance, especially with it being a home fixture for Everton. So in he comes, just so that we don't go heavy in defence. And then the other defensive slot will also be filled in by a 4.5 million defender. And he'll be there. There he is, Ezri Konsa, £4.5 million. Just as a reminder for us, just 1 goal and 1 assist last season. But if I just reframe it, we've got a Champions League level defender for £4.5 million. So I'm not going to ignore that. And of course, it'll be a tricky tie with it being West Ham United at the London Stadium. But surely Unai Emery would want to start the season on a high, especially with the Champions League campaign a month after game week 1. So in he comes, I mean, you look at the other options, I'm not going to get triple up with Gehi. 4.0s won't really come into contention. Van de Ven potentially, but yeah, not really enamoured by them. I just feel that Leicester would potentially have too much on their return back in the Premier League, that with also Spurs' lack of clean sheets last season, not really enamoured by a Spurs defender. So that is the back line with the funds that we've spent so far. So that's 7 players picked with 65 million still to spend, so a healthy amount there. So let's come straight onto the midfield now. And for those that have been following my actual pre-season drafts, I've been quite no Salah and no Haaland over the recent iterations. But in this bench boost draft, I'm going to have one or the other. And again, I'm targeting the fixture. Has to be Mohamed Salah against Ipswich with the bench boost. So in he comes, and just got to make it work with him with this bench boost draft. And we know what Mohamed Salah can do for the opening match of the season. I believe he had a hat trick actually a few seasons ago as well. So can't really look beyond him as the option there as our premium midfielder. Again, now that I've picked Mohamed Salah, I'm not going to pick Haaland because it would completely mess up the way that I allocate the funds. So got to pick Foden, 27 goal involvements last season. Again, tricky match against Chelsea, but can't really look beyond Phil Foden as my only Man City attacking cover for this game week 1 mock bench boost. So in he comes. So leaves me with 3 spots to fill in this mock bench boost. And I did talk about the Newcastle triple up for a bench boost. So to make that happen, need to pick Anthony Gordon. Again, just like Phil Foden, had 27 goal involvements last season. On the contrary, Foden got a healthy number of minutes in the Euros. Gordon didn't get any minutes, so no doubt he'd be up for showing the New England manager what he's all about and hit the ground running against Southampton. So in he comes. And then it leaves me with 2 more spots to fill in midfield. And got 35.5 million in the bank. Again, not going to buy Haaland, not possible. But I don't want to go completely cheap on the midfield. I feel there's a lot of value in midfield. So we are going to have another triple up here, and it'll be with Crystal Palace's Eze. In he comes, £7 million. And I know it's a bit of a problem with Crystal Palace having lost Elise. Remains to be seen what impact that will have, but they've recently signed Ismaila Sarr, so hopefully that will add up to their armoury. 16 goal involvements last season for Eze, on set pieces as well, so can't really look beyond him. Leaves me with one more spot to fill, and again, running out of money for my team. So I'm going to go for a budget option here, someone who's done really well in pre-season. Not sure if you'll get regular minutes throughout the season, but hopefully can get really the attention of Unai Emery with his pre-season form and get a potential start. So I think Rodgers fits the bill there. 5.0 million. And again, you can't have every perfect player at the perfect price in this bench boost, and you've got to really spread the funds, as it were. So Rodgers is that make-weight player, but one you'd hope that could potentially start the opening fixture and is accompanied by, I'd say, 4 very robust midfielders. So if it was a case that Rodgers blanks and Salah, Eze, Foden, Gordon score, then so be it. But I need one player like that as a make-weight just to make the maths work for this mock draft for my hypothetical bench boost. So £23.5 million now left with 3 spots to fill. And you've probably noticed I don't have any Arsenal players at this moment in time. Of course, Saka, if I got him in, probably wouldn't be able to afford Mohamed Salah. Probably could actually flip Foden out for Saka. Let's try that actually, potentially, if I can, with the forwards I had in mind. So let's just first get my first forward in, going to Arsenal. I know there's talk of Havertz, of course, reclassified as a midfielder. There's a risk of him being playing in midfield at times for the 24-25 season as well, as opposed to in a more forward position like he did in the 23-24 season. But that's one to keep an eye on. But again, Wolves at home, opening fixture, can't go wrong. And that's £15.5 million left in the bank. I did talk about the Newcastle triple up. So in comes Isak. There he is, £8.5 million. 25 goal involvements last season, if I'm not mistaken. There they are. So that leaves me with £7 million to spend, I beg your pardon. So I'm wondering, let's see what I could do here. For some reason, I thought I would have had £6 million to spend. So I did say, let's get rid of Foden here. And let's get Saka, hoping he does start. So that leaves me with £6.5 million for a forward. Let's see who we can get for £6.5 million. So João Pedro, again, with him, possible starter under the new manager for Brighton, but not going to pick him in this instance. Vardy, who surprisingly scored a healthy number of goals in the Championship last season, but wasn't starting a lot of matches, so I can't really be picking him. Got Muniz of Fulham, who actually scored 9 goals last season, despite the limited minutes initially, but at Old Trafford, probably want to give him a miss. And you got Wood of Nottingham Forest, 15 goal involvement, albeit with the limited number of minutes as well. Opening fixture, home to Bournemouth. So he is the one I had in mind. I'm going to pick him, £6 million, probably should be £6.5 million. Who else have we got here? Got Cunha, Wissar. Yeah, there's not really much going here. Calvert-Lewin. Can't really justify any of these players. Not many £6.5 million players. They Lukaku. That's a real one. At Chelsea still remarkably. And yeah, 6.5 million for Lukaku is a bit nuts, but yeah, he won't be getting any game time for a Premier League team. Let's put it that way. Further down, we've got Vinicius. Yeah, you can just see that there's not going. Here he is. Is it Thiago, the new forward for Brentford? I had heard that he'd potentially got injured, but again, probably that may have changed since. Yeah, some of these players just don't even recognise at all. We've got Antonio, 5.5 million. Archer's now 5 million. I think I had him in my draft actually last season at 4.5 million forward. But from all these options that we've seen in this remaining slot, it is really Wood you could pick for that opening fixture as well. In fact, without a bench boost, you'd even consider Wood as a third forward as well. But look at that, I've got 500,000 still to spend. Just wondering, who can I potentially spend it on? Might even upgrade Rodgers, actually. So, yeah, let's do that. So, let's go to Nottingham Forest. Hudson-Odoi had a great end to the season. And that is my budget maxed out. Just thinking, could I potentially upgrade my defence at all for this game week 1 bench boost? Let's just have a quick look at a £5 million defender actually before we lock this in. Yeah, Branthwaite potentially, but not sure if he'll still be at Everton come game week 1. Got Van der Ven's popping up again, 4.5 million. Udogie as well. Opening match, but just don't fancy. Will Spurs keep a clean sheet in that opening match? Who knows? Cucurella, yeah, not against Man City. Got Luke Shaw, £5 million. Yeah, I think I'm going to potentially stick. I know Manchester United have a lot of injury concerns at the minute as well. You'd expect them to beat Fulham in that opening match. So, just thinking, am I happy with Hudson-Odoi and Wood? I think I am. If it goes wrong with a hypothetical bench boost, you can just ship him out. But I think the key thing here is, just as a reminder for Forest fixtures, look at that. With the bench boost, then you've got Southampton, Wolves in those opening 3 games as well. And then you've got Eze. Again, you could pretty much say, not that he's fully fixture-proof, but good run of games shouldn't really be an issue for you. Again, missing a Man City attacking asset when they've got Ipswich in game week 2, but you want to hit the ground running with this draft. So if I really wanted to, like, in terms of the points for game week 1, if you said Saka at home against Wolves, Foden against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, you'd favour Saka, albeit Chelsea haven't really looked that great defensively for the past season. Maybe that can change under Maresca and the defensive fortitude he gave to Leicester City, and also seems to know Pep Guardiola quite well in addition as well. Learn all the best things from him. So just a quick look overall before I lock this hypothetical bench boost in. Yeah, the goalkeepers, I think, fairly content. Could I triple up with Arsenal perhaps? Yeah, wouldn't want to do that. Got Saliba there as well. Actually, let's get rid of Gvardiol. Let's get Saliba in for this bench boost. Again, just boosting the likelihood of points for this game week 1 bench boost as well. Got Palmer. Quite a few big misses here as well. I think I'm going to lock this in with my hypothetical, not lock it in literally, but in terms of what I think could potentially work. So let's do the famous super zoom in. So here is my mock bench boost draft for game week 1. Again, important caveat, this isn't for every FPL manager and can be risky, but there is a lot of upside here if it goes your way. And you could be absolutely flying if you can nail all 15 picks for game week 1. You've got to hope that they all start as well, of course. So explained Henderson fairly well, that of all the 4.5 million goalkeepers, even beyond game week 1, he is almost the go-to goalkeeper. You've got Pope against Newcastle, a lot to prove after missing a fair bit of the 23-24 season due to injury. Southampton at home seems like a plum fixture for him. So 2 potential clean sheets just from the goalkeepers alone in game week 1. Talked about Brentford and the transition that they're going through if Tony does leave. And with the way they've been set up, Brentford are going to cause some serious problems at home. But at 4.5 million, there's no other goalkeeper that I could consider for this bench boost game week 1 team. Now I've switched out Gvardiol for Saliba. Just feel that higher probability for Saliba keeping that clean sheet in the opening fixture. Virgil van Dijk against Ipswich. Again, ideally would like Trent, but money can't be stretched. Need to spread the money sensibly here. And then 3 4.5 defenders. Anderson, double up with Crystal Palace. Mykolenko, with the way Everton played last season, potential chance of a clean sheet against Brighton in that opening game. And they got Ezri Konsa against West Ham United, probably the least likeliest from these defenders to keep a clean sheet. But again, it's got the Champions League level pedigree now. And then on to the midfield. Gordon at home, fantastic home record in the 23-24 season, makes complete sense. Mohamed Salah, amazing game week 1 record, no nonsense pick. Eze is the talisman for Crystal Palace. Hopefully they can hit the ground running and maintain the momentum that they had post Roy Hodgson. Hudson-Odoi, again, has the momentum from the end of last season, and I believe he scored like 7 goals from mid-February onwards. So I think at 5.5 million, there's no other midfielder you could really consider with that proven prowess from last season. Saka at 10 million, again, had Foden initially, but then managed to have that extra 500,000 swishing about. So I think he makes complete sense. And then onto the forward line, got Havertz. Again, questions about where exactly he'll start for Arsenal, but I think he offers great value in this bench boost. And then accompanied by Isak. So I've got the Arsenal triple up, Newcastle triple up for game week 1, and then £6 million for Wood with a reasonable fixture. And again, with Nottingham Forest, not sure what to expect with them, but with Wood and Hudson-Odoi, 2 of their most consistent performers from last season. Of course, you've got Morgan Gibbs-White as well, but £6.5 million. I think they are the next best thing for Nottingham Forest cover and this bench boost. I think the good thing with this bench boost is, like if I was just doing a SWOT analysis of this, that it's good for game week 1 potentially and the next few game weeks. The biggest weakness and threat, in fact, is the lack of Man City cover, because I'm just targeting game week 1 with this bench boost. And of course, if it all goes wrong and you were to use a bench boost, then by all means you could wildcard as early as game week 2 or game week 3 as well. But it's something definitely worth considering if you want that additional buffer and you want to hit the ground running. But important caveat, am I thinking about doing a bench boost at this moment in time? I'm not, because of the way I've set my team up with my drafts, and I'll put a link in the description below that shows that. And at the same time, with bench boost as well, there is ultimately the best upside is during the double game weeks. We saw it with that Mateta double game week towards the end of last season, where ordinarily people may not have bought him. They bought him, had other double game week assets, scored 140, 150 points plus, and that was where the captain fell for some. So That's something that you need to factor in as well. But if you are feeling that there is enough upside here and you just want to go for it, then by all means, keep it in mind. As I've shown in this mock draft, hopefully, there are plenty of options for a bench boost game week 1 draft. So, yeah, don't let them tell you otherwise. But ultimately, the choice is yours. And if you want that head start, then by all means, just keep this in mind. As always, let me know in the comments below what you think. Can you do a better mock bench boost draft for game week 1? Or have I got the balance right? And as always, if you're able to like, share, and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. Take care and all the best.